Hey folks, welcome to Verified Investing. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here. Now in today's video, we need to dive into the chart of Nvidia as it makes a new all-time high. What's your upside target here? How high could this go before it runs into major resistance? Let's explore the chart. So I'm going to walk you through each and everything that I do. First of all, we take a look at the chart. We can clearly see you topped out over here. You kind of chopped sideways, making a double top, triple top kind of resistance, right? In fact, if we take a trend line here, we can very easily see that this was resistance until today's move above. Now, first and foremost, we have not confirmed a breakout yet. That can't happen until tomorrow, but let's assume that it is going to confirm the breakout. How much upside is there on the charts? Now, to do that, we have to look at a couple things. So number one, we want to start drawing in our trend lines. I draw in my lower lines, which will be support, and the upper lines that will be resistance. So the first thing is I go back to a major pivot low and I say, okay, we have this April low, which was the Liberation Day sell-off and subsequent downside low. We take that, we draw it to these recent lows here. And what we see here is there's a very defined level that even if we do break up, if at some point we come down and we break and confirm below this line, that would be a major breakdown in the stock. Now, that's not happening at this point, but a good trader and investor always looks at all angles, right? You can't just say, well, how much money am I going to make? Let me start counting my chicks before they hatch or my eggs before they hatch. But the idea is that you have to look at both upside and downside. So right now we've put in our trend line, which gives us our protection, right? So essentially, as this rallies up, if it ever breaks and confirms below here, that's where you have to pull the ripcord and say, okay, the upside is likely over. Now we're going to see some downside. Now, on the other side, what are we looking for? We're looking for trend lines that kind of coexist in this upper range, right? So, for instance, what we can do is we can say, all right, so you have a level here where if we go back to, let's say, this area here, and we draw a trend line in, that gives us a very, very firm basis for resistance. Do you guys see that? So we're basically going back to our bull market high on Nvidia in 2021. Remember, we had the bear market in 2022 in the stock market, but the bull market in the stock market topped out in 2021. And the reason why I'm choosing this point is because it's the lighthouse, meaning it's the highest point on either side. Over here, it ran up. And then on the way back down, it came all the way down before finally coming back up and starting this latest incredible run. And so very clearly, this now becomes a level to watch. So this high to the high here in 2024 kind of kisses it right in here and then connects perfectly through these highs. And so what we start to reveal here is that we can see that Nvidia, interestingly enough, has very limited upside. So could it get to 190? The answer is yes. But that's really, at least as a technician, the highest you would go with until we break above this line. Now, to be crystal clear, there's nothing that says we can't break above that trend line, that ascending trend line that I just put in. But the point is, a good technician never assumes that it's going to break out. Because again, what do we base our assumptions off of? When we're doing technical analysis, we're looking at history to dictate future price action. And what we see is we see a trend line that goes back to 2021, where every time the trend line is tagged, the stock Nvidia pulls back significantly off of it. And so in this situation, we can't be like, oh, well, this time's going to be different. I've heard that a million times over. But the real technicians say, okay, until it proves that it can break through this level, I must assume that's a stopping point on the chart. So if we go back to the chart here, we see, okay, well, right now it's trading around 186. The upside is very limited here on Nvidia to about 190. 190 will be its first big test as a bull runner to see if it can get through that level. And we'll have to watch and see. I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. But what I do know is that it hit here and had a correction back down here. So it went from essentially 184 back to 164. Here it kissed and had a drop from 153 down to 87. Here it pierced and it went from 140 down to 91. And so essentially, and even here, I mean, we can talk back all the way here, it was $35 and bottomed out at $10, right? So again, as a technician, we have to go with that for the time being until proven otherwise. All right. So basically, the beauty of this is what have we just created? We have created a chart that gives us resistance and potential breakout. When do we know it breaks out above? When it confirms above, if it does. But until then, resistance. And what we've created on the downside is support until, and we assume it's support until price breaks and confirms below that. And notice how tight this range is. I mean, we're really talking about like 179 to 190 as your range, where if it breaks one way or the other, you're likely going to get a big move. Okay. And that's the best thing about technical analysis is it gives you defined levels. It's not just, oh, I really hope it does this, or my gut is telling me it's going to do this. It's like, no, here's the trend line. A break in with confirmation below, okay, it's a breakdown. It goes a lot lower. If it breaks and confirms above the line, okay, now it's going a lot higher. That's the beauty of what we have here, folks, on the chart of NVIDIA. Now, as always, I like to go to my bigger time frames and just take a look and zoom out just to see if anything is of interest here. We do have a parallel right here, so I do like to go and take a look at the parallel factors. One thing I am noticing here, and this is kind of interesting, is that, and again, it's nothing major, but we can see the low here of this parallel also matches here and through some other key points. And then what I love to do is just to confirm whether my line is legit or not, we bring it down to other subsequent levels. And look at this, guys. So look at this high, and then you pierced it, but you came back, pierced it, but came right back above. It's reestablished right there. Then pierced it, came above, but then look, it went up, hammered, and then finally broke up. Now let's bring it down even more, and look at that. That's cool. Look at this. So the high's right here, then it came down, and it broke above, then became the low, up, the low, up, the low, bounced, finally broke down, and then it had to gap back above to get its mojo back here. So again, the point is, why do I waste my time looking at even though we have this great ascending trend line, why am I just pulling the parallel down? And the answer is just simple, is because when I can see that the parallel matches with other major levels in the history of the chart, it tells me that there's something there. It's not just an arbitrary trend line, that it actually has factors and previous levels at other parallels along the way, which adds validity to the trend line that I've created. Essentially, it gives me confidence and a higher probability that this level at around 190 on NVIDIA is going to be a major level. All right, guys, hope you guys have learned some here in the video. The idea of these videos is that not only is it technical analysis and giving projections and levels and supports and resistance points, but it's also educational. And my goal here is to educate everyone about how to draw trend lines, how to analyze charts. Doesn't matter if it's crypto, commodities, or stocks. It is a chart. If it's a chart, we can analyze it based on TA. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Take care.